What are you into? Hello, I give you title, please write a 1,500-word script in paragraphs, and source must be original and authentic. If source are not original and authentic, you write script you own. Mine, the title, is the scene that took the Benny Hill show off the air for good. And I give you reference script for idea. You take idea from this script, but totally write a new script, the reference script for years. The Benny Hill show dominated television screens, delighting audiences with its rapid fire slapstick, risque gags, and that unforgettable theme music. Benny Hill became a comedy legend, his mischievous grin and over-the-top antics earning him fans around the globe. But behind the non-stop laughter and iconic sketches, trouble was quietly brewing. One controversial sketch would soon spark a backlash so intense, it would mark the beginning of the end for the beloved series. What was meant to be comedy gold ignited a cultural firestorm, one that exposed deeper issues and ultimately led to the show's cancellation. Now, we uncover the infamous moment that changed everything and explore the hidden controversy that brought the Benny Hill show crashing down. The Benny Hill show entertained millions worldwide from its inception in 1955 until it was taken off the air in 1989. However, one particular scene is often cited as a key factor that contributed to the show's eventual cancellation. While the Benny Hill show had always pushed the boundaries with its humor, a sketch aired in the late 1980s struck a particularly controversial note. The scene in question featured Hill in a parody of a beauty pageant, where scantily clad women were ogled and objectified. The sketch resulted in a particularly crass and tasteless joke that many viewers and critics found offensive. During this time, public sensibilities and attitudes towards comedy were changing. What was once considered cheeky and harmless fun began to be viewed as outdated and offensive. The infamous sketch catalyzed these critiques, bringing the issue to the forefront of public debate. But how did a comedy program adored by millions meet such a dramatic end? What happened? Before we delve into the controversial scene that changed everything, let's explore the life of the man behind the show. Early life: Alfred Hawthorne Hill, better known by his stage name Benny Hill, was born on January 21st, 1924, in Southampton, Hampshire, England. However, there is some ambiguity regarding his birth year, as some sources cite 1925 instead. His family background is quite intriguing, particularly due to the artistic inclinations of his forebears. His father, Alfred Hill, managed a surgical appliance shop. This profession was a departure from the entertainment roots of the family, as his grandfather, Henry Hill, had been a circus clown. The legacy of performance and entertainment influenced Benny Hill's eventual career path. His mother, Helen, was also a significant figure in his early life. Benny Hill attended Taunton School in Southampton. His education there did not immediately lead him into the entertainment industry. Instead, Hill's early career was marked by a variety of jobs, none of which were directly related to show business. He worked at Woolworths, which provided him with his initial work experience. Subsequently, he took on roles that showcased his versatility and ability to adapt to different types of work. He worked as a milkman, a bridge operator, a driver, and even as a drummer. Hill's diverse early job experiences contributed to the range of characters and scenarios he later portrayed in his comedy. His foray into the entertainment industry began when he became an assistant stage manager with a touring revue. This position marked the beginning of his lifelong career in show business. The role of assistant stage manager provided him with valuable insights into the behind-the-scenes workings of theatrical productions, including stage management, timing, and coordination, skills that would prove invaluable in his later television work. In 1942, during the height of World War II, Alfred Hawthorne Hill, better known as Benny Hill, was called up for military service. He trained as a mechanic in the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, a branch of the British Army responsible for the maintenance, repair, and recovery of electrical and mechanical equipment. This technical training provided Hill with skills that were not only practical during the war, but also contributed to his resourcefulness and problem-solving abilities in his later career. Hill's military service saw him taking on multiple roles. Initially trained as a mechanic, he also served as a truck driver and searchlight operator. His deployment to Normandy in September 1944 placed him at the heart of one of the most critical phases of the war. The Normandy campaign was pivotal in the Allied liberation of Western Europe from Nazi occupation. Hill's role as a mechanic and truck driver would have involved maintaining and operating vehicles essential for transporting troops and supplies, while his duties as a searchlight operator would have contributed to the defense against enemy air attacks by illuminating targets for anti-aircraft gunners. Before the end of the war, Hill transferred to the Combined Services Entertainment Division. The CSE was responsible for providing entertainment to British and Allied forces, boosting morale through performances by comedians, actors, musicians, and other entertainers. This experience was instrumental in shaping Hill's future career in show business. In the CSE, Hill honed his performance skills, learning to engage and entertain an audience under various conditions. This environment allowed him to experiment with comedy, timing, and delivery, crucial elements that would define his later success on television. Benny Hill was deeply inspired by the star comedians of British music hall shows, a popular form of entertainment in Britain during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Music hall performances typically included a variety of acts such as comedy, song, dance, and magic. The larger-than-life personas and comedic styles of music hall comedians left a lasting impression on Hill. Determined to carve out his niche in the entertainment industry, Hill adopted the stage name Benny as a tribute to his favorite comedian, Jack Benny, an American radio, television, and film actor known for his impeccable comic timing and deadpan delivery. Armed with the inspiration from music hall comedians and the practical experience gained from his time in the CSE, Hill set out to make his mark in show business. Early career Benny Hill's first major break came through radio, a dominant entertainment medium of the era. He made his debut on the popular radio program Variety Bandbox on October 5, 1947. The show was a well-regarded platform for comedy and musical acts, and Hill's inclusion marked a turning point in his budding career. His sharp wit and adaptable comedic timing quickly won over listeners, setting the stage for his rise in the entertainment world. Hill's achievements in radio soon opened the door to television, which was rapidly gaining popularity and cultural influence. In 1950, he made his first appearance on TV. The addition of a visual component gave Hill new creative freedom, enabling him to introduce physical comedy and visual gags that would become trademarks of his style. These early television roles laid the groundwork for a prolific and enduring career in the medium. In 1962, Hill starred in a sitcom anthology titled Benny Hill, which ran until 1963. In this series, he portrayed a different character in each episode, demonstrating his impressive range and comedic flexibility. The show's unique format allowed Hill to experiment with diverse personas and sketch scenarios, reinforcing his reputation as a dynamic and imaginative performer. By 1964, Hill expanded his range even further with a surprising turn in classical theater. That year, he portrayed Nick Bottom in a television adaptation of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. The all-star production featured several esteemed actors, giving Hill a chance to prove his dramatic chops while still embracing comedy. As Bottom, a naturally humorous character, Hill was able to merge his comedic instincts with traditional stagecraft, revealing new layers of depth in his performance abilities. Between 1964 and 1966, Hill returned to radio with a program called Benny Hill Time on the BBC Radio Light program. This show spanned 3 series and stood out for its topical and satirical humor. Hill had a keen eye for current events and trends, which he cleverly wove into his skits. A standout episode from March 1964 parodied James Bond in From Moscow with Love, underscoring Hill's flair for spoofing pop culture. His comedic takes on the Beatles and other prominent figures of the time only added to his appeal. In Benny Hill Time, Hill brought a cast of recurring characters to life, including fan favorites Harry Hill and Fred Scuttle. These characters became signature parts of his comedic world. Harry Hill embodied the clumsy everyman, while Fred Scuttle was known for his exaggerated mannerisms and peculiar speech. Through these personas, Hill explored a broad spectrum of comedic themes and archetypes, further solidifying his legacy as a versatile entertainer. These characters not only highlighted Hill's range as a performer, but also endeared him to a broad audience by providing recurring figures that listeners could anticipate and enjoy. Benny Hill faced numerous challenges in his early career. Despite his talent and ambition, Hill struggled to gain a strong foothold on stage, where his performances received mixed reviews. Despite his talent and ambition, Hill struggled to gain a strong foothold on stage, where his performances received mixed reviews. The Benny Hill show. Benny Hill's journey through the world of entertainment began with the radio, a dominant medium of its time that captivated audiences across Britain. However, his early success on the airwaves was far from smooth. Hill's radio career was marked by a series of highs and lows. Some of his shows struck a chord with listeners, while others failed to leave a lasting impression. Despite the inconsistency, this formative period proved essential in helping Hill refine his comedic instincts. It was during these years of trial and error that he developed a resilient spirit and honed a comedic style that blended sharp wit with a flair for the absurd. But it wasn't until he transitioned to television that Benny Hill truly found his footing and fame. On January 15, 1955, The Benny Hill Show premiered on the BBC, marking the beginning of a legendary television career that would span decades. From the outset, the show distinguished itself with a unique format inspired by the vibrant tradition of British music hall entertainment. It combined live stage sketches with pre-recorded segments, a blend that gave Hill ample room to flex his creative muscles. His brand of humor, which leaned heavily on slapstick, double entendres, parody, and visual gags, quickly endeared him to a wide range of viewers. Hill's comedic world came to life thanks in large part to his recurring collaborators. During the BBC years, a rotating cast of talented performers helped bring his sketches to life. Patricia Hayes, Jeremy Hawk, Peter Vernon, Ronnie Brody, and co-writer Dave Freeman were pivotal figures during this time. Freeman, in particular, played a major role in shaping Hill's material throughout the 1950s and into the early 1960s. One of the most beloved figures from this period was Jackie Wright, a diminutive, bald-headed actor who became a fan favorite thanks to his frequent appearances as the target of Hill's infamous head-slapping routines. Wright's stoic reactions and impeccable timing made him the perfect straight man in Hill's exaggerated comedy. Although Hill remained primarily with the BBC until 1968, he briefly experimented with other networks, including ITV and ATV, between 1957 and 1960 and again in 1967. These short departures allowed him to explore different creative approaches and reach new audiences, further refining his comedic identity. A significant turning point in Hill's career came in 1969 when The Benny Hill Show moved from the BBC to Thames Television. This shift heralded a new era for the program and significantly boosted its popularity. Rather than airing weekly, the show adopted a format of one-hour specials, providing Hill with more flexibility and time to develop complex sketches and musical numbers. These longer specials allowed for more elaborate production values and gave Hill the opportunity to further expand his comedic range. Under Thames Television, the show gained international acclaim, eventually being broadcast in over 140 countries. Hill's combination of physical humor and universal comedic themes translated across language barriers, turning him into a global comedic icon. His keen abilities as a writer, performer, and impressionist were key to the show's continued success. Hill's sketches often featured him adopting a variety of characters, from hapless everymen to pompous authority figures, each brought to life with a signature blend of satire and slapstick. Although Hill was the main creative force behind the series, he occasionally sourced material from other writers. In keeping with the norms of the time, these contributions were rarely acknowledged with on-screen credit. One notable example involves Cherry Gillum, an actress and regular cast member, who reportedly sold Hill a sketch idea in 1976. Her fat lady concept was later featured in the January 1977 broadcast, and Hill even wrote to her from Spain to inform her that her idea would be used. A hallmark of the Benny Hill Show was its runoff chase sequence, an iconic gag that usually wrapped up each episode with a burst of frenetic visual comedy. This sequence often featured Hill and a group of cast members engaged in a madcap chase across various settings. The scenes were filmed using a technique called undercranking, which involves shooting at a slower frame rate and playing the footage back at normal speed to create a sped-up, exaggerated motion. This technique amplified the absurdity of the scenes and highlighted Hill's talent for visual humor. Recurring characters in these chases often included a mix of police officers, grannies, vicars, and scantily clad women, contributing to the comedic chaos. The repetition and escalating absurdity of the chase made it a fan favorite and a defining feature of the show's style. The entire sequence was set to the raucous tune of Yakety Sax by Boots Randolph, a piece of music that became so closely tied to Hill's brand of humor that it is now commonly referred to as the Benny Hill theme. In 2015, this catchy instrumental was voted the #1 TV theme in an ITV special, a testament to its enduring popularity and cultural impact. As the show entered the 1980s, it underwent a noticeable evolution. One of the most prominent additions during this time was the introduction of Hill's Angels, a dance troupe composed of attractive young women who brought a new layer of glamour and physicality to the program. These performers were featured in choreographed dance routines as well as in comedic sketches, often playing foil to Hill's antics. Their presence added a fresh energy to the show and widened its appeal, though it also became a lightning rod for critics who viewed the portrayal of women as outdated or sexist. Sue Upton, one of the original and longest-serving Angels, became a staple of the show thanks to her comedic chops and charismatic screen presence. Another familiar face to emerge from the Angels lineup was Jane Leeves, who later went on to international fame as Daphne on the hit sitcom Frasier. Her early work with Hill gave her valuable experience in television comedy and performance. Alongside the Angels, Hill continued to be supported by a strong ensemble cast that helped bring his sketches to life. Henry McGee, Bob Todd, and Jackie Wright remained key players, providing balance and contrast to Hill's over-the-top characters. The inclusion of children, known as Hill's Little Angels, added another dimension to the show. Many of these young performers were relatives of cast and crew members, including the children of Sue Upton and Dennis Kirkland, the show's director. Their involvement allowed for more family-friendly content and added a heartwarming element to some of the sketches. Another notable cast member was Jenny Lee Wright, affectionately dubbed the sexiest stooge by Hill himself. She joined the show in 1970 and quickly became a fan favorite thanks to her comedic timing and willingness to participate in the show's slapstick routines. Her roles often required a mix of allure and self-deprecating humor, encapsulating the blend of comedy and sensuality that had come to define the Benny Hill Show. Despite its widespread popularity, the show was not without its controversies. Critics increasingly scrutinized its portrayal of women and its reliance on innuendo and physical humor. As societal attitudes evolved in the 1980s, many began to question whether Hill's style of comedy had grown outdated. These critiques, coupled with changing tastes in television comedy and internal pressures within Thames Television, eventually led to the show's cancellation in 1989. Nevertheless, the Benny Hill Show remains a landmark in British television history. It broke boundaries, entertained millions, and showcased Benny Hill's unparalleled talent for blending wordplay, parody, and slapstick. Hill may have been a polarizing figure, but there's no denying his impact on the comedic landscape. His work continues to influence generations of comedians and entertainers, and his legacy lives on through the timeless laughter he inspired. Controversy and cancellation, the criticisms levied against the show, especially by alternative comedian Ben Elton, sparked debates about humor, cultural influence, and the responsibility of television programming. Ben Elton, known for his alternative comedy style, made headlines with his allegations against the Benny Hill Show. He accused the program of inciting crimes and misdemeanors, particularly against women. Elton's criticism was rooted in his belief that Hill's show perpetuated sexist stereotypes and contributed to a culture where women felt unsafe in public spaces. His comments were widely publicized, both on the television show Saturday Live and in the January 1987 issue of Q magazine. Elton's argument resonated with those who believed that media representations could influence social behavior. He argued that the show's portrayal of women as objects of pursuit and slapstick humor reinforced negative stereotypes and potentially harmful attitudes toward women in society. The allegations by Ben Elton sparked a range of responses from the public and media. Some critics viewed Elton's attack on Benny Hill as excessive and unwarranted. A writer in The Independent likened Elton's criticism to watching an elderly uncle being kicked to death by young thugs, suggesting that Hill's brand of humor, while dated, did not warrant such harsh condemnation. Supporters of The Benny Hill Show and defenders of Benny Hill himself argued that blaming a comedy program for real-world issues like assault statistics was misplaced. GQ magazine pointed out the absurdity of attributing societal problems to a television show, comparing it to blaming concert pianists for unrelated issues like elephant poaching. They criticized Elton's stance as overly pompous and exaggerated. Interestingly, Ben Elton later parodied himself and his politically correct stance in the comedy series Harry Enfield and Chums. In a sketch, he appeared as Benny Elton, a caricature of himself as a politically correct spoilsport. The sketch humorously depicted Elton being chased by angry women to the tune of yakety sax after attempting to enforce feminist principles in a manner deemed excessive and humorless. The controversy also drew the attention of regulatory bodies. A spokesman for the Broadcasting Standards Council commented on the changing perceptions of humor and its impact on societal norms. He noted that what was once seen as funny, such as half-naked women being chased by a comedic character, was now increasingly viewed as offensive and outdated. Despite the criticisms and controversies, The Benny Hill Show remains a significant part of British television history. During its heyday, The Benny Hill Show captivated audiences with its blend of slapstick humor, visual gags, and memorable characters. The program's popularity peaked in the early 1970s, with viewer numbers soaring to over 21 million in 1971. This made it one of the most watched programs on British television, highlighting Hill's ability to connect with a broad audience through his comedic prowess. Benny Hill's contributions to television comedy were recognized with numerous awards and nominations. In 1972, Hill received the BAFTA Television Award for Best Writer in recognition of his outstanding contributions to the writing of The Benny Hill Show. Additionally, he was nominated for the BAFTA for Best Entertainment Performance, showcasing his versatility as both a writer and performer. In the late 1970s, the Thames television version of The Benny Hill Show gained popularity beyond the UK, particularly in the United States. It was syndicated across American television networks, introducing Hill's humor to a global audience and solidifying his status as an international comedy icon. The show's popularity in the United States led to Emmy Award nominations for Outstanding Variety in 1980 and 1981. These nominations underscored the show's impact and appeal on both sides of the Atlantic, recognizing Hill's ability to entertain audiences worldwide. Hill received the prestigious Rose d'Or Award in 1984, further cementing his reputation as a pioneering figure in television comedy. The award celebrated his creative achievements and the enduring popularity of The Benny Hill Show across Europe and beyond. The Benny Hill Show not only entertained millions, but also influenced generations of comedians and television creators. Hill's distinctive style, characterized by fast-paced sketches, memorable characters like Fred Scuttle and the Hills Angels, and the iconic yakety sax theme, became synonymous with British humor. After a successful and illustrious career spanning over 2 decades with Thames Television, Benny Hill made the decision to step away from his iconic show, The Benny Hill Show, marking the end of an era in British television comedy. In late May 1989, Benny Hill announced his departure from Thames Television after 21 years of producing his popular variety show. Hill, having been a significant asset to Thames Television, had reportedly earned the company £26 million over the years, largely due to the show's success in the United States. Thames Television ultimately decided to cancel the production of The Benny Hill Show in 1989, citing several factors including declining ratings. Despite its previous popularity, The Benny Hill Show had seen a decline in viewership in its later years. Audience numbers were decreasing, reflecting changing tastes and evolving television preferences. The show had become increasingly expensive to produce, with each episode reportedly costing £450,000, equivalent to £1 million, for £114,100 in 2023. These high production costs were no longer sustainable for Thames Television, especially with declining viewership impacting advertising revenues. After the cancellation of The Benny Hill Show, Benny Hill continued to work on new projects, demonstrating his enduring commitment to entertainment and comedy despite the challenges he faced in his later years. In 1991, Benny Hill embarked on a new television venture titled Benny Hill's World Tour. The concept involved Hill performing his comedic sketches in various locations around the world where his original show had garnered popularity. The intention was to bring his humor to global audiences and continue his legacy in international television. However, the project faced setbacks, and Hill only managed to complete one special episode titled Greetings from New York. This special featured regular cast members such as Henry McGee, Bob Todd, and Sue Upton, showcasing Hill's familiar brand of humor in a new setting. Despite its limited production, Greetings from New York was billed as Benny Hill's final television appearance upon its release on DVD, marking a poignant moment in his career. In February 1992, Thames Television responded to persistent viewer requests by re-airing re-edited episodes of The Benny Hill Show. The decision came shortly before Benny Hill's passing and demonstrated the enduring popularity and nostalgia associated with his comedic work. The re-edited shows allowed new generations of viewers to experience Hill's classic sketches and characters, reaffirming his status as a comedy legend. Despite Benny Hill's immense fame and success in the entertainment industry, led a notably modest and private personal life. Benny's habits and preferences reflected a frugal upbringing and a desire for simplicity, even amidst his financial success. Despite his wealth, Hill maintained frugal habits throughout his life. He never owned a home in London, preferring to rent a flat instead. For 26 years, he resided in a double-room apartment on Queensgate in London until around 1986, when he moved to Fairwater House in Teddington. Before settling in Teddington, he briefly stayed at 22 Westrow Gardens in Southampton during his search for a new residence. This preference for renting over owning property was indicative of Hill's practical approach to living. Hill's frugality extended beyond housing. Despite being a millionaire, he adhered to the thrifty habits instilled by his parents. He was known to buy cheap food from supermarkets and preferred walking long distances rather than paying for a taxi unless someone else covered the expense of a limousine. Hill was also known for regularly patching and mending his clothes rather than replacing them, embodying a simple lifestyle that stood in contrast to his larger-than-life television persona. Benny Hill never married and had no children. Throughout his life, he proposed marriage to 2 women, but both declined his proposals. Actress Annette Andre revealed after he died in 1992 that she had turned down Hill's proposal of marriage in the early 1960s. Despite his public persona as a jovial and charismatic entertainer, Hill's personal life remained private, and he largely avoided discussing romantic relationships in interviews or public appearances. Throughout his career, rumors circulated about Hill's sexual orientation, with speculation that he might be gay. However, Hill consistently denied these rumors. His private nature and reluctance to discuss personal matters contributed to speculation, but there was no concrete evidence to support the rumors about his sexual orientation. Benny Hill's later years were marked by declining health, contrasting with his vibrant career as a beloved comedian. His health struggles ultimately led to his untimely death, leaving behind a legacy that continues to influence comedy and television. In the mid to late 1980s, Hill's health began to deteriorate. He suffered a mild heart attack on February 24, 1992, which prompted doctors to recommend a heart bypass surgery. However, Hill refused the procedure. A week later, he was diagnosed with kidney failure but chose not to undergo kidney dialysis treatment. Despite these health challenges, Hill continued to live independently in his flat in Teddington. On the morning of April 20th, 1992, at the age of 68, Hill passed away. His body was discovered 2 days later after several unanswered phone calls. Hill died peacefully while watching television in his armchair, with the cause of death officially recorded as coronary thrombosis. Tragically, Benny Hill passed away the same day a new contract arrived from Central Independent Television. Benny Hill was laid to rest at Hollybrook Cemetery, near his birthplace in Southampton, on April 28, 1992. His passing marked the end of an era in British comedy, as fans and colleagues mourned the loss of a comedic icon. In terms of finances, Hill's estate was probated at £7,548,192 at the time of his death, which is equivalent to approximately £19,700,000 in 2023. His will, written 30 years earlier, primarily left his estate to his parents, who had predeceased him. As a result, Hill's estate was divided among his 7 nieces and nephews, highlighting his family-oriented approach to financial matters despite his fame and wealth. Despite controversies and changing tastes in comedy, Benny Hill's influence on the genre remains significant. In November 2021, That's TV announced that The Benny Hill Show would be featured in its Christmas schedule. This marked a return of Hill's iconic show to nationwide British television for the first time in nearly 20 years, alongside other ITV classics like Beatles About and Kenny Everett's New Year's specials. This revival served as a testament to Hill's enduring popularity and the nostalgic value of his comedic legacy. Benny Hill's work continues to be studied and celebrated for its impact on television comedy. His ability to blend physical humor with clever writing and his knack for creating memorable characters and situations set a high bar for comedians and writers who followed. Despite the challenges and criticisms he faced, Hill's legacy as a pioneering force in comedy endures, with his work continuing to entertain and inspire new generations of fans. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen. Pick 3 topics to explore.